Welcome back everyone to my latest video in the Arkham Horror Complete Guide series. We already discussed in previous episodes the player phase, the enemy phase and the upkeep phase, and now we're on to the last phase, possibly most important phase, the Mythos phase. So there's two things happen in the Mythos phase. First, place Doom on the agenda, and then second, we reveal encounter cards for each player. So first things first, what does placing Doom on the agenda means? So we've discussed in the previous video what the agenda is. The agenda is a card that sits next to the Act deck and acts as the evil force of Arkham working to grind you down. It's sort of like a clock ticking away. Some have certain instructions, some will give you constant effects throughout the game, and they all have a threshold, a number, down here. You see here, Agenda 1A has the Arkham Woods and it has 4 total Doom threshold. So the very first step we do in this phase is add 1 Doom, no matter how many players there are, to the agenda card. Doom on the red side of the clue tokens. Place it on the card or to the side of the card, however you want to do it, it's up to you. Then you check Doom tokens in play compared to the threshold. If it is equal to or greater than, the agenda advances. It's important to note here that Doom can take place not just on the agenda card, but can also spawn on enemies and locations too. So make sure you check out the entire game area before you advance the agenda. This is the only time the agenda can advance. When the agenda advances, unless otherwise stated, remove all Doom tokens from play, take the agenda card, flip it over, and resolve the text on the back. In italics is flavor text, and then underneath that will be instructions such as spawning enemies, adding locations, and other effects throughout the game. Once you've done this, move this card out of the way, and then Agenda 2A continues with a new threshold. Repeat this process until you get to the end of the agenda phase. Sometimes in games we get to the last agenda, flip it over, the game can sometimes end. But do know that in Arkham Horror, ending the game this way isn't always a failure. You can still play on, you can still have other options and other choices. It's all part of your story. And the next step is each player, in player order, draws and reveals the top card of the encounter deck. Now for those of you unsure what an encounter deck is, it's a recurring theme in a lot of LCG games. It's basically a set of cards that you take from other sets, shuffle together, place in reach of all players, and gradually over time it'll add certain nasty effects, it will cause general problems, and throw a spanner in the works for the rest of the game. When you're making an encounter deck, you'll gather cards from certain sets based on the symbols. You can see here, center of a card are different symbols. Once you resolve F instructions, such as placing locations in play and certain enemies, and the Act's agenda card, the guide will always tell you to take the remainder of the cards, shuffle them together to form the encounter deck. Now there are 2 main types of encounter cards, treacheries and enemies. When a treachery card is drawn, its ability is revealed and the card is placed in the encounter discard pile. When an enemy card is drawn, that enemy spawns engaged with the investigator who drew the card, unless it has a spawn instruction. If it has a spawn instruction, it spawns at the location indicated by the instruction. So for instance, some enemies may say spawn at a set location, or some may say spawn a certain investigator, maybe it has the most damage or these cards in their hand or some other effect. More often than not, treacheries involve tests. They represent the forces of Arkham Horror working against the players. These can range from simple physical tests to strange horrors you're going to experience and witness throughout the game. For instance, the Grasping Hands treachery has revelation. This means that it must be immediately revealed and resolved. Test 3, agility. For each point you fail by, take 1 damage. We discussed tests before, so if I drew this card, I instantly have to resolve the effect. I have to test my agility of a skill value of 3. Throughout the game, cards can be added to the encounter deck for certain effects. Some cards will be shuffled into the encounter deck, there's a discard pile that might be shuffled into the encounter deck to add more cards. If a deck ever runs out of cards, simply reshuffle the discard pile and place it again to form a new deck. If an enemy had Doom tokens on itself, when it was defeated, the enemy is discarded and the Doom tokens also discarded. This is very handy for keeping the Doom on the agenda low. Keeping your eye on the agenda is very important in Arkham Horror. Not only does it act as a timer for the game itself, but also the faster the agenda advances, the more nefarious and sinister effects can happen across the game. It can range from drawing encounter cards to spawning enemies, or straight up taking damage or even being defeated. If you do draw a treachery card, you and only you who drew the card must perform the test. And that is it for my quick video on the Mythos phase. Although it's quite an important phase, it's also a very short and easy phase, so remember, add 1 Doom to the agenda, check agenda threshold and advance if necessary, and then each player in player order draws and reveals an encounter card. hope you enjoyed this video. Look forward to the next episode where I'm going to be discussing in basic form the deck building process of Arkham Horror. Any questions about this game or the Mythos phase itself, let me know in the comments down below. Like and subscribe if you can, and I appreciate that. Thanks for watching.